All right, let's dive into the Quran's second and longest chapter, Al-Baqarah, which translates to the Heifer. Now, this is a truly foundational text. It covers so much ground, from creation to law, all built around the central theme of wholehearted submission to God. But that brings up the big question right away, doesn't it? With over 280 verses talking about faith, history, and law, why on earth is it named after a heifer? Well, the answer to that actually gets to the very heart of the chapter's message. But to really get it, we need to start where the chapter does, at the very beginning. So, how does a chapter this significant introduce itself? Well, it doesn't waste a single second. Right from the get-go, it makes this incredibly bold, direct claim about what it is and what it's here to do. Boom! It opens with just absolute confidence. It says, this is the book in which there is no doubt. It's not just a collection of stories or ideas. It's presented as a practical guide, and it even tells you who it's for, the righteous. That one statement really sets the stage for everything that follows. Okay, so if this book is a guide, how do people actually respond to it? Well, right away, the chapter lays out a kind of spiritual map, dividing all of humanity into three very distinct groups based on how they react to this guidance. So on one side, you have the righteous, and they're defined by what they do. They believe in things they can't see, they pray, they're generous. But then on the complete opposite side, you have the disbelievers. And for them, the text says, it doesn't matter what you say, warnings just don't work. It's described as if there's a seal on their hearts and a veil over their vision. And then there's a third group, one that gets a ton of attention, the hypocrites. They say all the right things in public, but then, as this verse says, when they're alone with their own kind, they admit they were just making fun of the believers. It's this two-faced nature, this duplicity, that really defines them. So after laying out these three archetypes, the believer, the disbeliever, and the hypocrite, the chapter starts using stories to show what these look like in the real world. And that brings us right back to our original question, and the chapter's very strange name, the Heifer. So the story goes like this. God, through Moses, gives a simple, clear command, sacrifice a heifer. That's it. But instead of just doing it, they start negotiating. They ask, okay, but which one? Then they ask, what color should it be? And with every single question, the command gets harder and harder to fulfill until, as the text says, they almost did not do it at all. And that's the whole point. The story of the heifer isn't really about a cow. It's a powerful parable, right? It's about how arguing and excessive questioning can become a barrier to simple, straightforward faith and obedience. Now, to show what the opposite of that reluctance looks like, the chapter brings in a real heavyweight model of ideal faith, the prophet Abraham. He's presented as the ultimate example of what it means to just submit. And the contrast is just night and day. There's no hesitation, no haggling, no but what ifs. The command is simply submit, and Abraham's response is instant and total. I have submitted. This is shown as the absolute purest form of faith. And because of that incredible, unwavering faith, Abraham is given this unique title. He's not just a prophet. He's made an imam, which means a leader for all of humanity. He becomes the spiritual father figure whose legacy of submission is the ideal everyone else should follow. Okay, so we've got the stories, we've got the role models, and then the chapter makes this huge pivot. It moves from these big, abstract ideas about faith to the nitty-gritty, practical details of how to build a righteous community from the ground up. And the scope here is just massive. It's not just about religious rituals like fasting and pilgrimage. It gets deep into civil law. We're talking financial contracts, inheritance, marriage, divorce, even the rules of warfare. It's a truly comprehensive vision for how a society should run. And this verse, this is key. It basically redefines what piety even is. It says, look, righteousness isn't about the little rituals, like which direction you face when you pray. True righteousness is this active combination of genuine belief, compassion for others, keeping your word, and being patient when things get tough. It's about faith in action. So when you step back and look at the whole thing, the stories about questioning, the example of Abraham, all of those laws, a single powerful theme just clicks into place. The whole chapter is this massive call for complete, wholehearted submission to the divine will, not just in your spiritual life, but in every single part of your personal and public life. But here's the beautiful part. After laying out this huge, demanding path, the chapter doesn't end with one last command. It ends with a prayer.
The final verses are this incredibly humble plea for mercy, forgiveness, and strength, recognizing that, we're human and we need divine help to carry the very burdens the chapter just described.
And that leaves us with a really powerful paradox to think about. It presents itself as a complete guide for life, but it finishes with a humble request for the strength to even follow that guide. It kind of forces us to ask ourselves, in a world that's full of our own complex questions, what does that kind of trusting submission actually look like for us today?